share quite yet. Okay, good morning, everybody. So welcome. I'd like to ask those who are on the line to mute themselves, but I would like to as well acknowledge first, as we begin our event today again, those who came before us on this land. So I will say a land acknowledgement. So we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we are meeting here in the Greater Toronto Area is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous people for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So I will at this point share my screen. So we'll go to PowerPoint show. Okay, let me know when people can see this.
Yes, now we see it, Boyd.
All right, excellent, thank you. So I wanted to start with, again, acknowledging or noting the various events that are coming up. So this is actually a very busy week because today is actually World Wildlife Day. So Thursday, March 3rd, in 2022, World Wildlife Day will drive the debate toward the imperative need to reverse the fate of the most critically endangered species and to support the restoration of their habitats and ecosystems and promote their sustainable use by humanity, which is important in consideration of our promotions around biodiversity and protecting Mother Earth. So I put Wildlife Day word link in the chat. This is actually also World Interfaith Harmony Week. So World Interfaith Harmony Week, a UN resolution for that Harmony Week was proposed in 2010 by King Abdullah II and Prince Ghazi bin Mohammed of Jordan. The World Interfaith Harmony Week falls in the first week of February of every year and aims to promote harmony between all people regardless of their faith. So that continues until February 7th. And yesterday was World Wetlands Day, Wednesday, February 2nd. So World Wetlands Day 2022, celebrated annually on February 2nd, aimed to raise global awareness about the vital role of wetlands for people and planet. So the day also marks the date of the adoption of the Convention on Wetlands on the 2nd of February 1971 in the Iranian city of Ramsar on the shores of the Caspian Sea. And tomorrow is International Day of Human Fraternity. So Friday, 4th of February 2022, with a celebration of the first International Day of Human Fraternity within the setting of World Interfaith Harmony Week, provides an opportunity to highlight the principles of value included in the document Human Fraternity and explore practices toward its implementation as a pathway to the future as we rebuild a better world. And in 3 days, so before our next event, is International Day of Zero Tolerance to Female Genital Mutilation on Sunday, 6th of February, 2022. So that International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation is a United Nations sponsored annual awareness day that takes place on February 6th as part of the UN's efforts to eradicate female genital mutilation. It was first introduced in 2003. So again, into the chat, I'm putting some links for information about those events. So as always, I do start this presentation by giving recognition to our supporters and sponsors, in particular Andrew Networks, which has replaced EDFU Foundation as our primary sponsor of the Global Unity Network. Weekly Thursday Zoom calls, which now last through to December 29th, 2023. Andrew Networks will also be rebroadcasting production-ready episodes on the AHIABGA-TV domain, which are being redirected to the UCIT-TV site. You may also notice a slight change in our opening logo, where now the Eventbrite page and our logo indicates that this is the 2021 to 2023 AHIABGA Summit event, acknowledging that we plan to continue delivering these Thursday events until the end of 2023, in alignment with the UN Global Compact 2021 to 23 vision and strategy. So I will put this time a link to that UN Global Compact vision and strategy. You'll also see logos on this page, again, for the Maui Aloha Project, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the AHIABGA, the Future Lift Foundation, the Global Women's Development Network, Global Peace Let's Talk, the Community Development Foundation, the American International Education Federation, the EDFU Foundation, and many more. So I will put in a few of the key links into the chat for everybody to link to these organizations, which are very important foundational organizations for our network. So again, Andrew Networks, now our primary sponsor, supporting the promotional ecosystem for the Global Unity Network initiative, again, through to December 2023. And it is Andrew Networks that donates our hosting and promotional support services. Andrew Networks being a brand and domain name owned by RXTC, export trading company comprising the various social media channels like TRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Network, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. So again, I've been this information for everybody to understand who Andrew is, who also founded the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates and Activists in September 2019, with this focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs, which takes place between 2020 and 2030. So Andrew did appoint me as representative for Canada, La Francophonie, and Commonwealth of Nations countries, originally published January 1st, 2020. And then I later became a representative for Turtle Island in early 2021. So again, my name, Lloyd Halfrey. I'm the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energy University, headquartered in Manhattan, New York. Although I am located in the city of Markham in the Greater Toronto area in southern Ontario in Canada. Energy University being a private company created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance to their local environments. Energy does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong, diversified local economy, while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into these communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth, managing local wastes, and protecting local water resources. So Energime is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies they employ. Importantly, Energime University also supports the local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of the various integrated solutions for achieving closed loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So I put some information about myself in the chat. So I'm also the co-founder and administrator of the We Energime Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization that is seeking to undertake like-value peace education in the context of what we call life learning gardens. Again, in the chat is a link to the Energime Global Cooperation Turtle Island. As noted earlier, I'm also was designated as a Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, with that portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities, as this member of the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and activists, seeking to empower communities to engage with royal, Indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as interfaith, neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives, which are seeking to leave no one behind. I'm also a co-founder of the Global Unity Business Group, which came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow this global unity network, with the Global Unity Business Group being a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, along with the hybrid virtual learning platform that we call the Interchange for Peace, or the VCN. The Global Unity Business Group was created in order to formalize a process of globalization of the global goals, starting with the SDGs, which are being done by the establishment of this global unity network, which includes Unity Gardens Network, the Learning Network, along with many other dedicated Unity networks. So all being important components of this, what we call network of networks. So I wanted everybody to note that the existing social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn groups that we're using right now are really being used as a placeholder as we build the global network and prepare to launch eventually to get all the people, companies, and nodes of our network onto this VCN, where we'll then be able to gain access to the many tools and services that are available there, where they can much more easily collaborate in order to implement these globally coordinated real-world events and projects. So the Global Unity Network was created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, with our goal being to help uplift in their traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm is focused on making money for those who already are wealthy by extracting resources typically through the exploitation, often the over-exploitation of people and the natural world, and therefore the majority of people on Earth are mostly being ignored by our existing highly competitive economy. So our focus is on the billions of people who exist or subsist on the economic sidelines, where we intend to start our work by delivering solutions for people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and economies that are in particular the most food insecure. So Global Unity Network is promoting the delivery of practical solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, especially during this SDG period until 2030, using the tools of what we call humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing on female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, using the hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training learning programs and platforms with a primary focus on delivery of the humanitarian entrepreneurship, skills training in these practical settings, practical learning, along with leveraging various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist local INABC teams to establish local open source Unity Garden classrooms as businesses in all local communities around the world. So the Unity Garden classrooms set up in conjunction with existing schools in local communities can be used for the local and remote and virtual delivery of the practicum learning programs for the FFHE to learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities, as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, and even internationally, in order to produce income and therefore greater prosperity in their local communities for all people on all continents, with the intention and goal of leaving no one behind. So we also promote through the virtual social marketing all of the members of our network. We use all of these various practical social media networking and trade tools, including in future those of the modern fourth industrial revolution, combining this wisdom of crowds with the deep indigenous knowledge of both our ancestors and the living indigenous people of the earth, in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever we may live in and around each and all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity and ensure abundance for all, and ultimately restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. So Global Unity Network Virtual Collaborative Network, the hybrid learning model will be delivered through both the Unity Gardens for the hands-on experiential practical learning, as well as through what we call a digital VCN that bundles all of the various functions of the individual websites into a single site. Collaborative portal allows all of the digital and virtual learning to be delivered alongside the place where e-commerce takes place. In other words, it's a all-in-one platform for trade, commerce, and learning bundled into a single platform. So the VCN uses what's called a digital collaborator engine intended to turbocharge the networking, exchange, trade, and education delivery capabilities of and for the members of the network. It's also called a PXN, or Partner Exchange Ecosystem. Digital collaboration technology helps organizations in the 6 areas of digital transformation in the terms of leadership, digital strategy, customer intimacy, service design, agile transformation, and health check analysis for organizations. So we do believe that the VCN platform can help every organization become what we call an agile organization for the 21st century, helping them move beyond this current health pandemic. So the VCN is actually intended to be a stepping stone toward what's called the new vision of the internet, what's called the Metaverse, which has gained a lot of attention recently, especially with the renaming of Facebook to the new corporate name Meta, which of course refers to this idea of the Metaverse. Again, I'm putting information about that into the chat. So the business group is actually managing the Global Unity Network geographically by helping to create these localized country, regional, and continental UnityNet global business development networks, which serve to manage the local and community networks. So the regional and continental Unity Network organizations organize themselves according to the concepts of a principle called sociocracy, which will assist communities in each country to establish these local and regional community engagement teams called INAB collaboratives, or INABCs. They're Interfaith, Neighborhood, Academic, and Business Collaboratives. But the primary purpose of both the business and the network is to promote the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassador process of localization of the global goals, specifically by promoting processes that can help local communities establish those partnerships as per SDG 17 that will support the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are dedicated to implementing the various local regenerative community-based enterprise solutions for achieving the global goals. So here I actually want to talk about the purpose of the Global Unity Network. Our main purpose for the network country chapters is essentially to use our AHIABGA process of localization of global goals, a specific community engagement process, in order to assist local communities to establish and maintain those local and regional interfaith neighborhood academic and business clubs, the INAB collectives, in each local community according to the multi-stakeholder heptamatrix partnership template. For example, the partnership between Drawdown Markham CSO and the 5 Points Youth Foundation NGO, done through the We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, whose mandate is to deliver life value peace education within the context of Life Learning Gardens, which we call the Unity Gardens. So under the framework of cooperation that was created, rather than looking at individual projects for a one-on-one basis, the Global Unity Network was and is being created to establish this global support network, which is helping to establish the local support networks of professionals in each local community where the projects are intended to be implemented, where ultimately the design and assessments of projects are not to be done by people who are remote to the communities or the projects, but rather by the trusted people who are living closest to the projects, including the beneficiaries, especially those who are currently the most marginalized in the community. So I will put in a little bit information about localization in the chat. So our goal is really to support and uplift people in marginalized communities through the delivery of these learning programs, the practical hands-on education and training, and to promote all of the youth and the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs around the world who either have or wish to implement these regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals. So we focus on regenerative solutions that can be localized one community at a time, starting in the least developed countries, communities, and economies, or LDCCEs, by working with, lost my place there for a second there. So we want to work with people who are most forgotten, most marginalized, with this intention of leaving no one behind. So our open source hardware is something that we are very much focused on through this network. So our philosophy is that machines are not the economy. People doing things is what makes an economy. So if we can uplift people and lift them from poverty, or better yet, empower them to lift themselves from poverty, we'll have automatically injected new life into the global economy. So the goal of the Global Unity Network is uplifting the bottom billions. Our ultimate goal being to teach people how to feed themselves, what we call the climate smart way. We would think of the old saying, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. So the Global Unity Network is about teaching, especially women and youth, to fish, so they no longer need to be fed the next day when they're hungry again. So our focus is also promoting and demonstrating only these open source solutions, as in open source regenerative climate smart food growing infrastructure, set up as the Unity Garden classrooms at and with schools, including universities, colleges, high schools. Again, I wanted to mention that I have a 4-page PDF document that describes the Global Unity Network in a little bit more detail if anybody would wish to have that. So one of our key programs is called the CTP program, the Collaborative Tree Planting Program. So the CTP program is being created in order to help enable local management and adaptation to long-term social and planetary impacts, to help create legacy forests for people, biodiversity, and planet, and to secure energy and food resources, climate resilience, and poverty alleviation. So we also aim to teach people about how they can implement these rural and urban holistic sustainable infrastructure that we are promoting, that will help to deliver this knowledge to people who are in local communities throughout their network, or throughout our network. So the learning programs of our Unity network partners will be delivered using the lens of humanitarian entrepreneurship, education, and training, especially for youth educators and decision makers of all kinds. Through our programs, local communities will come together to create these INAB collaboratives through the commemorative Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree plantings that are part of this 400th and 800th anniversary Tree of Peace and Reconciliation ceremony on the initiatives, many of which have taken place in cities and communities around the world since late 2019. So the original twinned Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree plantings, the first took place here in Canada, in Pickering, and also in Bermuda. They were a precursor to the ongoing tree plantings that are part of this social enterprise arrangement with Forest Nation. You plant, we plant, through this We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island organization, which is working closely with Plant for the Planet organization, which actually intends to plant 1 trillion trees around the world over the next few decades. So I will put more information about that again into the chat. So we are supporting and work in partnership with the Unity programs, the Unity Network, organizations that have been established and continue to be established around the world that deliver these projects, campaigns, and events, such as the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation tree planting ceremonies, the Sunlight Spectacle virtual edutainment shows and events, along with the Indigenous Global Unity Summit series events, which we're doing right now, which will continue to take place until the end of next year at least, as well as the coordinated international bubble fun festivals. And importantly, I wanted to mention that we're also working in support of the expansion of the Global Women's Development Network. And I'd like everybody to register and participate in the upcoming International Wednesday Conference that will take place in about a month from now. Also supporting the Global Unity Pandemic, which was our original group, which began many of these conversations. I am putting some information as well about our local chapter here in Toronto. And finally, some information about the upcoming Global Women's Development Network event where people can register. So as noted, we are supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, designed for the delivery of hands-on practical learning programs, supporting all manner of life value peace education, including what are called CSV gardens, victory forests, climate smart kitchens, Spark Learning Centers or Climate Smart Educational Training Centers, and Wheel of Life farm schools and farms. So these are important infrastructure solutions that can be set up in local communities as businesses. So our projects include what's called a Sacred Site and Watershed Mapping Project, the CTP program, which I mentioned earlier, Collaborative Tree Planting Initiative for twinning communities, along with collaboration for the development of the systems of payments for ecosystem services, for certified climate smart products that help to permanently sequester carbon and that are made by these humanitarian enterprises that are helping to implement these local solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with the SDGs. So some other key campaigns the dream boards in every community campaign to establish local community dream boards, where we help to mobilize the youth and help turn their dreams to reality, along with a tea diplomacy initiative that connects local farmers, growers, and entrepreneurs across geographies and among members of communities that may not otherwise ever get a chance to talk to each other and get to know each other as people. With the idea being to sit down, even if only virtually, have tea, relax, and discuss local solutions to global problems like food security, hunger, climate change, the environment, peace, security, and the well-being of people and the environments in each of our local communities, with people participating, discussing what kinds of teas they also like to drink, what healthy foods they like to eat while drinking the teas, and what unique teas they grow in their own local communities or region that are important to them and their local people and culture. So again, I will put in some information about what I discussed just now around the CTP program and the Tea Diplomacy Initiative. So again, our first Continental Unity Network Development Network is UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. So it is intended to be a safe place for cooperative discussion with others in the Global Unity Network as we develop a continental network for all the people of Africa and for eventual replication across all other countries worldwide, starting with the least developed countries, communities, and economies. So the initial board of directors of this African Continental Unity Network shown in this slide, new members of the board confirmed as well an official advisory board. So Carlos Richard Sanko from UnityNet Sierra Leone as the Continental President, Mary Ifeanyi from Nigeria, the new Vice Continental President, where Sierra Leone is actually one of the oldest Unity Network chapters, which has now 10 trees of peace and reconciliation already planted in communities across the country, those serving as the precursor for the creation of the local INAB collaboratives and the establishment of the Unity Garden classroom infrastructure. So the new board of directors of the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, as you may notice on the screen, trying to represent 6 regions of Africa, a selection process also attempting to achieve gender balance of the board by ensuring half the board members and leaders were women as per SDG 5 gender equality. So the African team is now working in cooperation with the existing Global Unity Network country chapters in Africa to create a model for the development of this continental and regional network of networks by working with grassroots people in the country chapters. So the African model, we hope, will eventually be replicated in order to create country chapters across all 55 African nations and also establish a formal dialogue and connection with the African Union. But the African success is not just for Africa. We want to use it as a template for other continents and countries around the world, where we'll focus our efforts again on the least developed countries, communities, and economies, and those communities especially that are being furthest left behind, as per the concept of LNOB, which again I will put some information in the chat for people to read more on. So we are also planning to link the North American and African agendas across time and space, linking our programs together in a way that makes sense by developing what we call the reverse CTP program, modeled on the original CTP program developed by Drawdown Markham in late 2019. So the business group, with its home in Canada, strong support and involvement from Sierra Leone, Kenya, and the United States. I want everyone on this call to consider joining at least one or more of the following groups that are also critical to the Global Network, including social media discussions that have been created by the Global Unity Business Group, which is, as noted, a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation supporting and promoting this local delivery of open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure set up as life learning gardens, or what we call Unity Gardens. some important nodes in our network. I want to mention at this point some of them, including the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, the Unity Learning Network, the Unity Health Network, Eco Village Network, Indigenous Global Unity Network, as well as Unity Environment Network, Biodiversity Network, and the now Peace Centers Network, Children and Youth Network, Smart Communities Network, Social Business Network, Smart Tourism Network, supporting and aligning with this Tourism for SDGs mandate, the Women and Feminist Network, which is fairly new now for our humanitarian entrepreneur business owners and managers to exchange tips, tricks, and ideas among themselves, along with a number of other critical networks and nodes. So most recently, we also have a Unity Water Network, which was established and it's designed to address all the various water sustainability issues that are related to the achievement of the global goals as we attempt to transition to a regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So along with this water network, we did also establish a localized net zero team, supporting the creation of a campaign for globalization of the global goals, where we're focused on cities who are attempting to achieve their net zero ambitions. So we'll very likely focus our attention on the C40 Cities Network through a proposed partnership between GHH, the UN Global Compact, the C40 Cities Network, and the C4 Group for all of the people in all of the cities of the world who are members of the C40, but especially also for the marginalized people in every country, city, and local community and economy on Earth, including of all Africans, all Indigenous people of the world. So this is a local project of UnityNet GTA being coordinated together with the founder of the Indigenous Unity Flag, whose cousin is actually a famous hip hop artist here in Toronto. And I will put in some additional information about many of the groups that I just mentioned so that people can have the opportunity to join these networks as well. So the Global Unity Network has been created to promote everyone equally who is willing to work together with us in solidarity toward the achievement of the global goals. It's not just for the success of their own business with the Global Unity Network. The health of people and planet are considered to be placed front and center. The first purpose of the Global Unity Network is to help establish the global network of local INAB collaboratives. So these are very important to our network. I would like to mention that this is a fairly new name, the Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaboratives, as per this HEPTA Matrix partnership template, which is shown on this slide. So the Global Unity Network has a very specific focus in this area of development, which is the hybrid, virtual, and hands-on practical education and training in the context, done in the context of the regenerative development solutions, for which we intend to assist people in local communities to build and demonstrate at least one of these 5 different regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions in their own local communities, in collaboration with existing local learning institutions. So it's intended that these Unity Garden solutions will at minimum be able to address at least the 2 Sustainable Development Goals, first being Zero Hunger, SDG 2, and the second being Climate Action, SDG 13. So again, in chat, I will put additional information about those 2 critical SDGs. However, we are building a global network that cuts across all areas of humanitarian entrepreneurship learning as they relate to the implementation of the various local solutions for achieving the global goals that are related to our even more specific focus on climate smart food and related regenerative development solutions that will help humanity to move beyond the Sustainable Development Goals and into hopefully a new era of regenerative development. However, that might ultimately be defined post 2030. So we're starting with this conversation now. We're still about 8 years ahead of the inevitable transition to the next phase of the global goals, the post-2030 goals, where the SDGs are now just this second phase of the Millennium Development Project to achieve peace on Earth in a way that leaves no one behind. So where the larger Millennium Development Project intends that all of humanity can be uplifted and empowered to achieve their highest potential. And I am information so that people can learn about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which was one of the basis for implementing the way we are implementing these solutions. So here I'm showing a complicated graphic, the Unity Network, African Diaspora being an important network here so far, the first continental chapter of the Global Unity Network. Continental chapters are being created in order to facilitate the establishment of the country chapters of the Global Unity Network on the continent or geographic jurisdiction where the continental chapter has the responsibility. So the country chapters are created in order to facilitate the establishment of these local INAP collaboratives, the Interfaith Neighborhood Academic and Business Collaboratives at the local level in each community, where the INABCs, as we also call them, are established at the local level. We're leveraging that unique process of community engagement through the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation. Planting ceremonies twinned with other communities, followed by ongoing community engagement and interaction through regularly scheduled events throughout the year, including the coordinated Bubble Fun festivals done in collaboration with the local INABC members, the CTP program for twinning these communities, and managing the community organized tree plantings, the local regenerative community infrastructure development projects or the events, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, as described earlier, the Dream Boards Initiative, hopefully done in collaboration with the C4 group members, identification of and engagement with local talents, artists and creative people in the orange economy for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent, as well, especially in promoting the globalization of the global goals and the new regenerative economy during any of our periodic events, including the Sunlight Spectacle and other edutainment events. So any other programs and activities that may be developed, of course, in the context of the CSV Gardens and the Victory Forests, which are delivered by FBSC, and the Climate Smart Kitchens delivered by Kindred Kitchens, the Live Life Farms and Farm Schools delivered by an organization called EPWT or ESRLA in Vietnam and the US, and the Spark Learning Centers or Planet Smart Learning Centers delivered by the PodNet Co-op. So I wanted to, again, put in information about our Unity Network ETA group into the chat so people can understand the way we are organized ourselves. So I wanted to note the Unity Gardens of the Global Unity Network encourage what we call co-learning or intercultural collaboration, what is called two-eyed seeing. So Unity Gardens are places where children especially are taught that no one being is greater than the next, that we're part and parcel of the whole, equals, that we're one, or each one of us has responsibilities as well to the balance of systems, and an understanding that all of the world's species, all of our bio and eco kin have contributions to make. So I wanted to please have people take a look at the two-eyed seeing, Etuapmunk guiding principle for intercultural collaboration at the websites that I am putting into the chat. So on November 27th last year, we actually established 2 new discussion groups with the Global Unity Network, including this first one, the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, which was established with Susan Yego from Kenya and Ambassador Mary Solanke from Nigeria, where the members of this network will begin the process of organizing the development of some standard learning modules that are customized in line with the local school curriculum as required, and where these modules are to be delivered in the context of the Unity Gardens by the members and partners of the local INABCs that have been established in each local community where the Unity Network, continental, country, and regional chapters have been established. So I'm giving some link to that discussion group. There's also the Tukitana EV Canada as a second important connection that we established with Tukitana EV Germany late last year, initiated preliminary discussions about this establishment of Tukitana EV Canada NGO, which is already delivering the Tukitana Women Empowerment Program in Africa. But in Canada, we'd like to establish the Tukitana Canada NGO in order to apply this AHIABGA process of localization and global goals in all of our local communities so that we can establish these local CSOs, those local INABCs, which are the local organizations that will be delivering the global Unity 4K Club learning programs that help uplift youth and FFHEs intergenerationally and across geographies and help bridge the gap between rural and urban in order to achieve our objectives of delivering quality education as per SDG 4 through the partnerships as per SDG 17. So through Tukitana EV Canada, will also be assisting our colleagues in Germany establish a UnityNet Continental chapter in Europe, which will focus their efforts on supporting homeless and displaced people, such as economic conflict or climate migrants. I will put in a little bit about Tukitana into the chat as well. So one of the reasons for establishing the UnityNet Children and Youth Network was in order to support and establish a pool of experts for those who are organizing the global coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum hybrid virtual and in-person event that we'd like to take place as a key part of the Global Unity Network yearly activities, which this year has been offered to take place during the Lagos Peace Awards ceremonies hosted by Yeli International in Nigeria, in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, with the support of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, culminating on World Food Day, October 16th. So I wanted to note that Climate Smart Youth Forum Week happens during the 13 days between October 4th, Global Cooperation Day, and October 16th, World Food Day. And the events and activities and programs and contributions can take place or come in from any country in our network during this period of time, where presentations and activities can be recorded and delivered remotely to all people who are members of our network globally, hopefully through these this Interchange for Peace VCN. So the primary host this year, UnityNet Nigeria, since they did a pre-launch event last year on the same date, and Dr. Amade Amadou from Yeli International, the Youth Education and Leadership Initiative, will be working with his teams in Nigeria in cooperation with other members of the Global Unity Network and UnityNet Africa and Diaspora to launch this first of what will hopefully become a Global Unity Network big annual event that happens every year in at least one country of the world during the days between Global Cooperation Day and World Food Day, so October 4th to 16th. I will put in a little bit more information, especially about the Children and Youth Network we have established. So during the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, we're also proposing that local INAB collaboratives, if they are ready to do so, can, if they have a local plan, participate in the Global Coordinated Tree Planting campaign to establish what we call 3D polyculture food forests in local communities across Africa and around the world, where communities can begin establishing the Victory Forest Unity Gardens, which also serve as sacred spaces in their local communities in collaboration with at least one or more other local institutions of learning, where the Unity Gardens would be configured for delivery of the Global Unity 4K Club humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs to all the local youth and FFHE in each specific local community. So the Unity Garden spaces established in the local communities through the twinned planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, which are to take place on World Environment Day, June 5th, during our Abraham Project Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation, which is an event that is being designed for establishing the global network of local INAB collaboratives. So these interfaith, neighborhood, and academic and business collaboratives in every local community that participates. So through the CTP program, the Collaborative Tree Planting Program. So the intent of the campaign is to establish the global Unity network, Unity Gardens, in every local community around the world in support of programs such as Canada's promise to plant 2 billion trees and the Great Green Wall Initiative in Africa, the 100 million tree plantation that was launched in 2007 by the African Union and was described as a game-changing African-led initiative that aimed to restore Africa's degraded landscapes and transform millions of lives in one of the world's poorest regions, the Sahel. So our goal is bigger. Not only is this a private sector initiative that doesn't rely on taxpayer money to do it, we'll also aim to plant as many as 15 billion trees in local communities across Africa. So by establishing these victory forest Unity Gardens with as many of the gardens established as we can over the next 8 years by 2030. With the yearly tree planting campaigns continuing to the next phase of the global goals post 2030, at least up until the year 2063, in alignment with the African Union's Agenda 2063. So the task of the UnityNet African diaspora in this year really is to help with the rest, or help the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network in Africa to flesh out the details of their plans and local plans, then bring it to the Executive Council of the African Union so that all of the countries and governments and civil society organizations and businesses across Africa and really around the world we can begin to get behind this larger campaign. So I'm going to put in some information about the African Union's Agenda 2063, as well as the UnityNet Nigeria group, the Climate Smart Youth Forum group, the Tree Planting Project for Nigeria, and the Interchange for Peace gathering place on existing social media. So we all need to be open to learning from each other in order to get to the best of all wisdoms, so that we can come to a healthy middle ground in a place that will hopefully have all of us emerge into a world that benefits the maximum number of people and the maximum number of species and environments we live in, where we must learn to live in harmony, not just with ourselves, but with all of nature as well, and with what the Indigenous people of Turtle Island refer to as all our relations, i.e. all of the living things on our planet from which our bodies are constructed through the patterns created by the instructions in each of our individual DNA. So all of the members of the AHIABGA are attempting to rewrite this playbook about how to engage with all the people around the world by helping to uplift all of humanity and help us move beyond this era of colonialism. So it is a large project. It is what I call a project of our lifetimes. It is a huge challenge for an entire generation of young people to try to achieve by working together with their elders and solidarity with others, including Indigenous people, especially in the context of climate change and biodiversity loss and soil losses and desertification, and issues like peak oil and population pressures and deforestation, phosphorus, peaking health crises such as COVID-19, information, misinformation, corruption, along with the waste management and pollution issues, which are causing widespread contamination of our ecosystems, including, of course, from CO2 emissions, also from plastics, and a variety of other toxic chemicals, including those that are deliberately applied to our living environments, such as the many chemicals used in industrial farming, like glyphosate and other antibiotics, which really means anti-life chemicals designed to kill life forms, mostly the microbiome, which is actually what keeps us alive and what's in our guts and allows us to digest food. So that's why our Global Unity Network really is seeking to help uplift marginalized people so we can work together, teach this next generation of young people how they can feed the world through systems that keep us healthy by developing and leveraging the activities that they undertake through their local businesses that will help restore the environment, including tackling and adapting to climate change, where we do this through the lens of what's called humanitarian entrepreneurship. So I will put in to the chat again the link to the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, which embodies these concepts. So the Global Unity Network is, as this slide indicates, inclusive of everyone's networks insofar as we agree to uplift and promote each other and each other's good work. So we do three things. We help people in local communities create these local INAB collaboratives through this AHIABGA process of localization of global goals. We then help to facilitate the localized delivery of the regenerative economy learning programs that others have developed and which are done through the Unity Learning Network to, for, and by the members of the INAB collaboratives worldwide. And we promote everyone who is willing to work together with us in solidarity toward this practical and necessary achievement of global goals. So the Global Unity Network is a network of networks, inclusive of everyone's network, but only if they agree to uplift and promote each other and each other's good work, and not only to place themselves at the center of the work they are doing. So,
hey, Mr. Hefferty, Lloyd, how are you this morning? Is it possible that me and a friend could say hello? Because we are meeting around things that are relevant to this conversation, but it's challenging to do two things at one time. Would it be okay for us to jump in and say hello real quick?
Yeah, okay, well, I can continue. I can continue after you make your initial introduction. Go ahead, Sir Betty.
I think some of you people know this lovely lady behind me, Miss Jenny Carrington of We Are Mother Earth.
Hi, friends.
You want to introduce?
Hi, Seth.
Hi, how are you? I'm here with Sir Bailey.
Hello, Jenny. How are you doing? I actually just realized that my video wasn't on this whole time.
So I'm here with my boyfriend. This is Bart.
How y'all
doing? Hello, Bart.
And I know that Sir Bailey kind of jumped in, but I just wanted to make a quick announcement. Yesterday, I got out of a meeting with a construction company in Pasadena that's doing repurposing of industrial buildings, and I got a yes, an enthusiastic yes to our $50,000 Spark Pod budget.
Wow.
Awesome.
Congratulations, Jenny, and sir, and family.
Good things up.
So I just wanted to share that news. Nothing's in writing yet, of course. The budget's nothing is in writing, but we are working very closely now with some, and they're also interested in what we're doing in Bakersfield. So we're going to talk a little bit, I'll loop Sir Bailey in, but I just wanted to give you this news. It's really, this is a huge deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't take long. Bless it. I was jumped in a little bit earlier, and I appreciate the reiteration I hear from Mr. Hefferty about us remembering Ubuntu. I am because we are because I am. Understanding that, you know, Christ saves us, right, into a peculiar people, a royal nation, as never I, right, except for I and I, which is He, I am, the great God, and each and every one of us to do our part Man, thank you. I see you there, Ambassador Williams, and the rest of the warriors for justice and love. Thank you for your leadership, Brother Lloyd.
So I just wanted to mention that I'm hoping that I'll be able to connect Jenny with a developer here in Ontario, in Southern Ontario, that seems to have some interest in our network and is part of our network as well. And they may be interested in following closely what you are doing down there in the West. So potential for replication up here as well. Thank you very much for that announcement, Sir Bailey and Jenny as well. So as I continue forward, I wanted to mention the collaborative events now. So this is the Global Unity Network is very much focused on the events that we do every year. So the collaborative events that we'd like to do in 2022 are related to the activities of the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network, the Unity Gardens Network, and the Unity Eco Village Network and Biodiversity Network. The first globally coordinated Abraham Project, Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation, delivered locally in multiple local communities by the members of the Global Unity Network. Sorry, on World Environment Day, Sunday, June 5th. So in about 5 months from now. And which will allow us to begin establishing a global network of local INABCs, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that will lead the way to the local or at the local level everywhere in the world to undertake the various globally coordinated events that we plan to do during the rest of the year. So again, I will put into the chat information. Oops, I didn't put in the last. Sorry, I need to change because it looks like I have a direct message to me. So I wanted to mention as well the important launch event that we're hoping to be followed by some Bubble Fun festivals, if we can do that this year. Globally coordinated community Bubble Fun festival events designed to allow youth and families to have fun while they learn about the miraculous properties of bubbles and how the use of bubbles can potentially allow humanity to more easily adapt and perhaps even to thrive in a warming and changing global climate, especially in those areas of the world where the impacts of global warming and climate change will be felt most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north, in mountainous areas, as well as in places like sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. Some possible dates for this Global Coordinated Community Bubble Fun Festivals are August 9th, International Day of World's Indigenous Peoples, also the International Day of Solidarity with the Struggle of Women in South Africa and Namibia, or National Women's Day, August 12th, International Youth Day, August 19th, World Humanitarian Day, potentially opening it up to have us a local Bubble Fun Festival on any date between August 9th and August 19th, which are those 3 days. That's an 11-day window. So I'm putting again references to all of these international events into the chat. And I wanted to mention just quickly, there's now a discussion about what we had actually talked about early on when we started our discussions last year. Early last year, with some folks in Sierra Leone about a possible, what we call a bubble soccer game played with youth, where we begin to really have fun in the bubbles by playing a fun sporting game. So this year, with the rise of the Canadian women's soccer teams, being front and center in headlines actually here in Canada, we're hoping that we may be able to engage with various football leagues around the world in order to begin promoting and even potentially co-hosting some of these bubble soccer events. So this was an idea that we're hoping to revive in the next few months. I wanted to mention as well the Ubuntu Summit, which should take place on Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, along with our events, which last until World Food Day, October 16th. So this Ubuntu Summit we did last year also is Feast Day of St. Francis of Assisi, also called the Blessing of the Animals Day, which are celebrated by the Catholic faith communities. So we are interfaith organization. We are not a Catholic organization, but we are promoting interfaith dialogue between the Christian and Muslim communities. So we also have a globally coordinated Climate Smart Youth Forum event, which I mentioned earlier, designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about and discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that are support achieving those SDG 2, zero hunger, and local circular regenerative economies. So along with learning more about the Climate Smart Food Program in all of the various components of the AHIABGA process of localization and of the global goals, and the smart virtual infrastructure, the Unity Gardens, and the Interchange for Peace. This event allows local community INABCs to gain access to all of the learning programs, the information, the education, the training, the support programs, the financial support systems that we're hoping to integrate into the Global Unity Network, and that we have been promoting through the network of networks. That will allow, hopefully, us to turn local community members and families and implement these local regenerative climate smart humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their local neighborhoods and communities, wherever they might live in the world. So we're the primary host this year, as I mentioned, of the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week. Will be at Yellow International Nigeria, who will be working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria as part of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and as with many of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network as possible, who can contribute. I wanted to mention Yelly International, divided into these two arms of youth education and a leadership initiative managed by Dr. Monday Amadou from UnityNet Nigeria. So again, a number of links into the chat for people to join related networks. Finally, I wanted to mention the Global Coordinated Community Victory Forest tree planting. This idea for the event designed to establish some of the first 3D polyculture food forests in local communities around the world, done in all the local communities with the local Global Unity Network. INAP collaboratives are established where the members of the local community partnerships begin to establish these victory forest unity gardens designed for delivery of the various global unity learning programs, such as the Tukitani EV Women Empowerment Program, the Global Unity 4K Club humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs for educating and training women, youth, and other community members about the various ways of achieving food and nutrition security goals, the SDG 2, zero hunger goals at the local level. So also implementing so many of the other global goals, hopefully, such as the climate action goals, the biodiversity action goals, life on land goals, the gender equality action goals, SDG 5, the clean water action goals, the clean energy action goals, the peace action goals, the no poverty action goals, through these local community enterprises that also aim to leave no one behind. So with this last globally coordinated community victory forest unity garden tree planting event could potentially be done during the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which will likely also include a hybrid and in-person virtual conference event. But again, I've been information on related Global Unity 4K Clubs discussion group, and other links. I wanted to remind everyone again that we, the Global Unity Network, have also been offered to organize a side event during the 2022 Together Ensemble National Conference on the SDGs in Canada on March 4th, so in about 1 month. We had an invitation from John Beal, the manager of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Canada, which is housed at the University of Waterloo here in Ontario. I have suggested that this side event can be done as a joint effort with possible contributions from UnityNet Canada, with the participation and leadership of Tukitana EV Canada, NGO, and others. UnityNet Africa and Diaspora with the support of Tukitana EV Africa, in Zambia and Uganda and Kenya and others. UnityNet Europe with Tukitana EV Germany, and possibly also UnityNet South Asia and Diaspora with CDF Canada partnership and the Global Women's Development Network. And finally, UnityNet Southeast Asia and Diaspora, which is still being created, but where we can create new continental chapters in each of these other locations, modeled on the African success story for establishing the Continental Unity Network. And I am putting again more information about the UN Welcome 2022, as well as the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Canada organization into the chat. So as I had indicated during our past IGU summits, the overarching plan for global cooperation that we are implementing here by working together with all of these marginalized people in the world that will be co-created by the members of the Global Unity Network is to attempt to implement with the leaders of the Global Unity networks in cooperation with the local members who will be most impacted by the solutions that are being offered as possibilities for the development of these local humanitarian enterprises. Is it related to the original CTP program? So I wanted to mention again that the original collaborative tree planting program, which is a twinning of communities program, was created with the goal of doubling Canada's commitment for planting forests as a private sector initiative, with the trees being planted on private property in communities across Canada and in other countries, primarily LDCs. So the collaborative tree planting program was originally developed by Drawdown Markham for a group in Prince Edward County in East Central Ontario, but is actually a regenerative climate smart community infrastructure development program. It has a tree planting component, but the tree planting and the community forests that result from such planting are not actually central to the program outcomes, which are related to the establishment and delivery of the local regenerative community infrastructure that is used to deliver the solutions for achieving the global goals. So currently the SDGs at the local and community level. Importantly, the CTP program is really about the delivery of this regenerative climate smart community humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs, the education and the training, the delivery systems that are intended to be accessible at the local level to each and every community member that takes part in the CTP programs, which can be done either as twinning or, as I said, threening or quadrinning or quintinning of the local community ABCs. So I wanted to note again, the original CTP program plans were presented to my MP, Majid Johari, my member of Parliament in Richmond Hill, who was the first federal candidate of Iranian heritage to be elected to Canada's Parliament, who signed the Pact for Canadian Green New Deal pledge, where we subsequently met and discussed the proposed project in early February 2020, about a month before the global COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns changed everyone's lives, placed this CTP program effectively on hold, at least until now. We now have restarted our conversations around this program using the first weeks of 2022 with some people from the Global Unity Network, specifically the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora members in local communities, in particular in South Africa and Uganda, where we hope to demonstrate these community-to-community partnerships. So again, I put in the chat information about the original CTP program, and now also the new Unity Women's and Feminist Network, which I hope people will now join in this discussion around the CTP program, which I must mention as well that the Global Unity Network was originally created to support this collaborative tree planting program, which is now being reimagined as a reverse CTP program that will ideally also support the establishment of this global network of productive eco-villages populated by our humanitarian entrepreneurs. So the reverse CTP program, the main theme now from Africa to the world, and where the first major initiative will be related to the planting of the trees as productive 3D polyculture food forests in and around local communities across Africa in partnership with other communities around the world. So my hope is that the new reverse CTP program can become Africa's contribution to the global pledge to end deforestation by 2030, which was the first headline agreement from COP26, and where the EU has also proposed a law that would prevent importing all commodities linked to deforestation activities, which means that there will likely be a significant push around the world to not only end deforestation, but to replant forests where they had previously been destroyed or degraded. So we are looking beyond the Sustainable Development Goals to the post-2030 period, when humanity will be needing to put huge effort into restoring our relationship and the balance of nature, probably by undertaking rather massive ecosystem restoration activities. At the same time, if we're going to survive climate change and the massive ecosystem degradation and biodiversity loss that is ongoing. So our goal is therefore to establish these physical and virtual infrastructures that will allow people in every local community on Earth to learn how to implement some of these local solutions themselves, which is the rationale for our hybrid approach, why we're promoting open source hardware solutions that are not constrained by patents and other IT limitations. Again, I put in some information about this eco-village network. So I wish to reiterate, however, that the Global Unity Network does focus on the smaller scale, community-based and regenerative solutions that can be implemented by local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs in all our local communities, including in rural areas as well as in cities, and where the programs of the Global Unity Network are also focused on the initial and ongoing community engagement, mostly done through the delivery of the events that focus on the development of local partnerships to establish and maintain the local INABCs, and as well for the purpose of bringing not just the top regenerative practitioners onto the virtual platform who will be able to teach people about establishing the various regenerative infrastructure as local community social purpose enterprises, but where we also help to empower the smallholders and the marginalized citizens who are members of the networks to establish their humanitarian enterprises in their local communities, and also provide them with access to this Interchange for Peace virtual collaborative network. So we're also supporting, assisting, promoting, and empowering the humanitarian entrepreneurs in the local communities to work together with their own local community members, as well as with all of the members of the Global Unity Network, to begin planning to the best of their ability for the establishment of the hands-on regenerative classrooms, the productive regenerative Unity Garden enterprises that will allow for the efficient delivery of the learning programs, these practical education and training of the open source solutions to all of the other community members, to be done in partnership with all of the other local community organizations, including existing educational institutions, so that they can eventually take advantage of this Interchange for Peace virtual digital network that will serve to support their enterprises, as well as the delivery of even more humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs for youth, for more educators, for all of the decision makers in their local community, so that everyone in their network, in their local community, can not only know about, but also support people who are operating the various regenerative development solutions for achieving, at minimum, zero hunger, SDG 2, and climate action, SDG 13, at the local level, especially for those who are most marginalized in each of our own local communities. So I wanted to mention as well, our local team here in Toronto is also establishing the Greater Toronto Area Unity Network, UnityNet GTA, through a partnership that is being developed through the We Energize Global Corporation Turtle Island International Civil Society Organization, working with our allies in the Global Unity Network, including UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and the rest of the UnityNet Canada local INABCs, which we are establishing in order to expand the Indigenous Global Unity Network that will deliver programs for practical reconciliation with Indigenous communities and their allies across Turtle Island and around the world for the purpose of healing our planet, restoring biodiversity, and ensuring global social integrity, one community at a time. So we do this by looking through the lens and implementing the various solutions for achieving the global goals locally, starting with the local implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals during this UN decade on ecosystem restoration, which started last year and goes until 2030. So we're also planning to start with the development of a Greater Toronto Area Canadian Urban Food and Farming Expo Network, which will focus on the development of a local regenerative climate smart food supply chain ecosystem here in the GTA by establishing the virtual urban farming network for the various local smart and fair trade products that will be certified as regenerative climate smart and which at minimum can tackle SDG 2, zero hunger, SDG 3, 13, climate action, 1 meal at a time, and where our intention is also to leave no one behind, as we can also teach others how to implement these new regenerative economy solutions, not only to others here in Canada, but also to people around the world through the partnerships as per SDG 17. So again, I'm putting in some new links to the Urban Food and Farming Network Hub, the digital virtual urban farming expo discussion group, and some information about the UN decade on ecosystem restoration. So again, in summary, humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs that we are supporting are very much focused on engaging youth, educators, and decision makers in these learning programs and community engagement processes, but with strong emphasis on women and girls as leaders in their communities, also in their own homes and families, as per SDG 5 gender equality, with the goal of the business and the network to eventually establish what we call a new 21st century economy of compassion and cooperation, and the recognition of life value as being fundamentally more important than money value, where money is this fictional construct created by humans that helps us to make decisions about the most economic pathway to achieving certain outcomes, which are based on the goals that we individually and collectively set for ourselves as human beings. So the Global Unity Network that we are establishing is a network that includes platforms for delivering education, training, awareness raising, open idea, and cultural exchange programs managed by the Global Unity Business Group. The hybrid learning network that we're creating consists of the virtual collaborative network or Interchange for Peace, a network through social media right now, will be implemented alongside a network of internet-enabled international Unity Gardens, which are in turn supported by the Unity Learning Network of educators who understand the importance of delivering programs of life value, peace education in each one of our local communities. Again, in the chat are links to the Unity Learning Network. And finally, final slide, as always, I show some sustainability guidelines. I leave this on the screen for a few moments to let people read this as we wrap up our opening session, which today I think is most of what we're going to be doing. So these guidelines were provided to us by Mike Nickerson from the 7th Generation Initiative and Sustainability Project, who wrote and is author of the book called Life, Money, and Illusion, Living on Earth as If We Want to Stay. So again, in the chat are the links to Mike's website and information about his More Fun, Less Stuff group on Facebook. So at the end of our opening and most of, I think, what we're going to be doing today, I want to again recognize our guests, starting with the women, and I ask everyone to please put their contact information into the chat window so that others on the call can have your contact information, especially if you're new to this IGU Summit series events presentation and new to the Global Unity Network. I'd like to ask that you include at least your name, organization, and one piece or more of contact information, such as your email